All right. So I have a record right here that I was just listening to, and I was hearing one song right now that we're going to sample into the MPC. It has a really good sounding bass line. And one thing that I've always struggled with, and I still struggle with the most, is just bass. I'm not a musician, so how do I get some good sounding bass within my sample based beats? A lot of the times, some of the samples that I chop up already have great sounding bass lines where I don't want to take away what they're performing. I want to keep what they have, but recreate my own melodies or my own lines using the way I chop up my records. So right here we have a song. I'm actually going to play it so we can listen to it, sample it into the MPC, and see how we can play around and almost use these pads as our own bass line and play our own melodies with what we chop up. That's it. The bass sounds heavy. It's recorded great. It sounds very good. So I don't want to filter out that bass. I want to chop this up and recreate my own lines and my own melodies with it. I went ahead and brought that into the MPC, and I have those chops right here. All right, so you hear the bass line already sounds heavy. So I want to keep it the way it is. I have some drums already playing right here on the grid, and I actually want to go right here to my editor, and I want to bring down the pitch of this sample. The way I chopped it up, I just chopped it up into 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Like very simple chops. That's the way I like to chop my samples up. Very simple. But then once I have those chopped up into my pads, this is where I can get creative and put some drums on top of this and then recreate or reorganize what I'm listening to in my head. Now, what is right and wrong? I've always said this. There is no right and wrong. It's just whatever connects with you while you're in the moment of building your track. Okay, so I'm really being driven by the bass line. That is the foundation of this. That's what's taking over the sample. That is the reason why I chose this sample. Every time I listen to music and I want to sample something, there is something within that song that I gravitate towards, whether it's guitars, whether it's strings, maybe sometimes it's vocals. In this song is the bass line. Like I was just listening to it, and the bass line in my head almost got stuck into a certain rhythm. Like it's almost like I was already chopping up the record before I even turned on the MPC. I'm listening to it, and in my head I'm already coming up with ideas. Everybody has a different way of listening to music, and if you're just getting started with sampling and you're like, man, I don't know what records to sample, it's going to be unique for everyone. There's something that just rings a bell in your head and it makes you want to sample it. Whatever that thing is, gravitate towards it. And when you chop it up into your pads, play with that and do not let go of whatever that thing is. Like in this case is the bass line, and I don't want to let go. I want to choose the bass line as my priority, and if there's some guitars in the background, then cool, that's going to be a bonus. But I'm listening to the bass line, and I noticed that this pad right here, there's a really cool a guitar that's just icing on the cake. And this pad 15, there's a flute, and it just hits out not even a second that the flute plays. It's like a millisecond, and those are just ear candy sounds that I get within the bass line that I'm playing with. Hopefully that's making sense, but I'm just sticking to the bass line, and that is what I want to connect as I'm finding my groove right here. Oh man, right, so then I start banking through and listening to different sections. By the way, all these programs right here, this is the way I have it chopped up. I will have it on my Patreon. So by the end of this video, if you want to download these chops, go ahead and load them up into your MPC, follow along, or recreate your own chops. Also, just a heads up, I also have these same exact chops. I sampled them into the SP1200 and pitched it down, so I will also release the SP1200 chops for you guys if you want to download them. Now, this is where it gets really fun, especially when you have a sample like this where the bass line is what's guiding you. You could get your chops the way we have them chopped up right here. As a matter of fact, I'll do this on the SP1200. We have everything right here. You don't have to follow that groove, the 1, 2, 3, 4. You could just almost as this is your bass line. This is, you are the musician. You could recreate the way is being played, the rhythm that is being played at. We could try something different like this. So that's where it gets really fun, especially with bass lines. I'm able to recreate something that might sound different, that feels different with the groove, the melody. As long as it's chopped up the way I have it chopped up, which I usually do quarter notes, I'm able to play along my drums, different rhythms, different tempos, the speeds. If I want to add some swing to it, I'm performing as I'm feeling with the drums that I'm locked into. That's where you take a sample, chop it up, resequence it to the point where it's even hard to identify the original sample that we chopped up. So for me, that's what makes sampling fun. Let's go ahead and record that right here on the grid. All right, so now if we listen back to the original sample right here, if I play a bar, hopefully I don't get a copyright. All right, that is completely different. And we have those chops. When God made you. It's all about having fun. Do not be afraid to sample. There's so many times. As a matter of fact, more times that I think a sample is going to work. I'm listening to it. I'm playing it back in my head. I'm like, oh, this is going to be so good. I sample it into my MPC and I'm trying to find myself and it's just not connecting the way I thought it was. There's nothing wrong with that. You have nothing to lose. I would say, well, you just lost some time. But even when I have bad samples and I just discard them, I don't feel like I lost time. I enjoy that process of trying to figure things out. And if that is the case, that I spend 15, 20, 30 minutes trying to make this sample work, and I decide that it's just not working for me, I put it to the side, or I come back to it later, or I would just move on and go on to the next record. There's nothing wrong with that. Let's create a new track, and I want to create this into a plug-in instrument, some keys right here. Now, there's really no secret or trick that I'm able to show you on how to get the perfect bass sounds for your sample-based music. There's just trial and error, trying things out. Sometimes the bass line that's within the sample is going to work. Sometimes it's not going to work. There's times where the bass just sounds very far away and it's very weak. So I will filter out that bass and add my own bass on top of that. But do not be afraid to chop up samples, listen to something, and if you feel it's going to work, chop it up and find yourself as you play back your drums. Lately, I've been adding my drums first, or starting with my drums. So when I have my samples chopped up, I'm able to find my way with those samples. I'm able to see if it's going to work, whether the drums are the ones that I'm going to stick with, or I'm going to delete them and add some different types of drums later. But I'm just really trying to connect with that sample. There's times where I know 100% that the sample is going to work. And in those cases, I'll start with the sample and I'll create my sequence first, and then I'll start adding drums on top of that. Now, this is coming from someone that does not know how to play bass. I'm not a musician. I say this many times. I cannot read music. I can't talk to a musician in the musical language. So that's coming from someone like me. But I'm sure for those of you who play instruments or have some type of basic understanding of music, it might come a lot easier to figure out how to add bass lines on top of sample-based music. All right, so I'm actually really grateful to be back. I took a week of vacation with my family, and it feels good to be back. I'm so grateful to be here. I say this many times, and I don't think I'll ever get tired of it, but it feels great just to wake up and to be here with you. If you're watching this video till the end. So thank you so much. And also, before we head out, do not forget, if you are looking for any audio equipment when it comes down to cables, microphones, and PCs, go down to the links of my videos. I have links to Zounds. It really does help and support this channel without costing you anything extra. So go ahead and check out my links if you are going to be purchasing any gear anytime soon. But till then, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I'll catch you guys on our next video. Peace.